Okay, this video I will talk about expressions in Elemento. And first I want to open up Stickman to explain what Elemento actually do. And for example, I add this camel to Elemento, and what I see is that this appear as one surface in Stickman. But if I open up this figure in Elemento by clicking new figure and select new based on, I can open up the same figure in Elemento, and we see a lot of nodes and a lot of components. And if I select one component, I see I get a tool from it. I can move it. I think I can rotate this, and I can see the properties, and I can also see some expressions. So in this video I will talk about expression, because expressions is the glue that keeps a figure together. And the essential with Elemento is to make an interface for control points. So you can use the control points to animate, and for switch. Here we have a blink switch, so you can animate the blinking of the camel. And so if you change the expressions, you change the way the figure behave in Stickman. But most of the logic is organized in different components or elements. The only thing you need to do with this expression is to link them together, like Lego blocks. So let's start with a new figure. I'm closing this dialog because you don't need it now. And let's add some components like an ellipse, a rectangle, a polygon, and an open curve, and we got a text element. And all these elements, now we see them at the right side. You can also have an image. And let's open up an image using the open file action, and then we simply select an image from let's choose this elephant. Okay, so all those are elements, and you can move the camera, zoom out using holding shift, or you can use this mode. You can move the camera around, and if we just add this to Stickman, it will just appear lifeless. It will not do anything. So expression is to it's like the strings in a puppet. So to do something, we want to program the attribute of one of these elements. So let's try the image of the elephant. So select the image, and here we have two gray properties, and this means that the properties are read only. They cannot be written to. And we have the X and Y property, which is which we can set to, for example, 30 here, and we see it jumps. Let's set it to 0, 0, and the upper left corner will move to 0, 0. So now we can test if we create an expression of the X value. You see it here, image 1 .x. If we type 100 inside here and click OK, and then we start it, we see it moves to 100, and I can go to this move to select the image here and try to move it, and it won't move at other values than 100. So what happens if I remove these expressions? Well, if there are no expression, it means I can set whatever value I want it to have, so I can move it freely around. And there are many types of functions, and we can open these using the help and object browser. So we use this window beside the expressions to learn about new function we can use. So there is a function here that is called the between function, and it takes a number and a minimum and a maximum value. So we want to copy this over to the expressions window, and as an argument to the number parameter we want to type .x, and this means it refers to itself, its own value. So an expression can pass its own value as a parameter to itself, and this means that sometimes we want to control its own value between the, for example, -100 and 100, and we click OK, and now we debug it and select the image. We can move it to the left until we hit 100, and we can move it to the right until it hits 100, so it's -100 and 100. So that's just what we wrote. So in this way expressions are very flexible because they understand what you are doing in a way. Like you use the tools and it tries to make the expression come true. So like something you define the physical laws for these elements. Okay, so let's try another function. Let's see if we have some other interesting function here. We have a blend function that takes some points and blends it, and there's some description and example. We have a blue function that it returns a blue color, the color component of blue. We have a bone function. It can simulate the same functionality as a bone do. And here we got one interesting function. It calls the closest function. So it takes two arguments from point and to point, and it's on a line. So let's try to create a new document and add a line, and then we move it around to make a better position like this, and then we want to have an ellipse. Okay, so we want the x property of this line to move along the line, and a y property, so we can't move this direction. So we understand in this situation that we talk about a point. So when you have a point, it can be smart to just add a control point to do that calculation before we apply it to the ellipse. So what you do is programming the point and first and not the ellipse. Okay, so we select the position property, open up the code window, and then we copy the closest, and we see it got two arguments, so it two versions, and one is taking a line and a position. So let's just use this closest function. Okay, so I'm selecting line for this, and I want to type 0.1 because that's the name of the control point. Or we could use, let's try to click OK, and it says that the expression refers to itself directly or indirectly. So this means we have to remove the point, because the point have to when it refers to itself, it must use a dot and without a name. Okay, so let's click debug, and then we try to move the point along the line, and we see it's locked. So now we want to move the ellipse according to the point. So then we select the ellipse element and the X property, and then we type in 0.1 dot X. Okay, and then we select the other 0.1 dot I, and when we select the X and Y, we see the corresponding expression here. And let's debug it, and now we see when we move the control point, you can see the ellipse is moving. Okay, I want to try another example, but now I want to modify an existing figure. So let's try this robot, and we see it got a lot of control points and probably a lot of expressions, but I want to move his head something like this, automatically by time. So I search here for at the top control point, and then we have the X and Y property. So the X has a value very close to 0. Let's copy this. So in mathematics there is a function called sine, and this function takes one argument, and we can use time for this, and then we add the value we got and multiply by factor, so the movement gets larger. So this means 30 pixels, and we click OK, and when we debug we see we got a movement between from one left to the other, and this means we can move it up or down, but you can't move you can't control the X value of the head. Okay, so this was the first taste of what expressions can do. If I save this figure open up this in Stickman and hit play, and see his head is moving from left to the right and back. And you see his head is jumping. That's because it reaches the end of the animation and starts over. So you might, in these cases, you might find the correct cycle and see what the correct movements get. Okay, so you can try out some expressions. You just look for in the object browser window and you search for an expression that interests you. For example, you could try the follow path function, and this function, it takes some points from a curve and you select a start index and start point at that path, and then you can put the time function to move along the path, so you can create a kind of roller coaster or something. Okay, so thanks for watching. I hope you will enjoy this. Learning expressions gives you much more power over what you can do with Stickman. Okay,